Hello, everyone. We're going to break down what's happening in the South American offseason so far. The main reason we're doing this now is because there is a LAN happening in South America on November 30th. It is the Login Championship. There are 6 teams that are going to be participating. There's a qualifier, so we got to see some other teams that we might see. And the reason I only have 5 teams up here is because Furia is sticking together and they're not really going to be a part of this offseason. We have a pretty good indication that they have no reason to make any changes, so they would just kind of take up space on here. So I'm going to be breaking down how we get to these 5 teams. These are the 5 teams we actually started last season with. I've also included a couple other players that I think are important to note. And let's get right into it. So the first tournament in the South American offseason was the Brazil qualifier for the FIFAe World Cup. Not everyone ended up playing in that, especially because it is national teams, but I think there were 4 main contenders from Brazil. One of them obviously being Furia, who qualified. The other one being this Team Secret squad. This is the squad they ran with for that. You also saw this Loud squad participate with that exact roster of players. And you also had Ninjas and Pajamas participate. That being said, Ninjas and Pajamas did make a change ahead of that. So for the FIFAe qualifiers, Astro was not on the team. This is Astromic, by the way. It's going by Astro a little bit. And Wisty was. So this was your Ninjas and Pajamas lineup for the FIFAe qualifiers. Obviously, the team that qualified was Furia. They're going to be representing Brazil, but that's what we ended up seeing. And I realized I forgot to do this ahead of time, but if we're going to look ahead to what we're going to see in South America, we got to talk about the orgs, because orgs have been a massive discussion point in this scene so far. All these orgs have actually already released their teams. Team Secret has not. Ninjas have. Crew has. W7M has. And as of this week, Loud has as well. So when I have these orgs up here, this is the only one that's actually still signed. Aside from that, it's just kind of guessing where teams are going to end up. I would assume we'll still see some of these orgs back in the RLCS in South America. Whether we'll see all of them, it's probably doubtful. I don't think we'll end up seeing Loud. But we know for a fact that we will not be seeing Ninjas and Pajamas in South America because they're exploring the European market. So I'm going to go ahead and remove them slowly, apparently, because I'm struggling this morning. And just in their place, I'm going to go ahead and add another organization that I want to surprise me to see in Hero Base. I already tried to record this video like 3 times. I used the headset that I have, but I think the audio's chalked, so that's why I'm holding the mic. Normally I don't for the Whiteboard videos, but it's been difficult. And so these guys aren't necessarily representing Hero Base. It's just kind of like a placeholder to see. So yeah, this is the only actual org combination you'll see. The rest of it is going to be predictions. Like, I'm planning on putting that in the title. So this was your lineups for these 3 for the FIFAe World Cup. Also, what we saw for FIFAe World Cup is that there's a Chilean team and an Argentinian team. So to get to that, for Argentina, you have these 3 guys down here. Not RMN, he comes in later, but AJG from Argentina is running it with Unbroken and Misery. And then for Chile, I'll go ahead and move Astromic down here. For Chile, you have Razebull. The reason Complexity isn't on this board is because they're headed to North America. So you have Razebull, you had Pan, and you had Davitrox. Or well, you have, because I still haven't played yet. So these 3 are your Argentinian national team for FIFAe. These 3 are your Chilean national team for FIFAe. And these teams will be important to note because as we get into talking about this LAN and the teams that we ended up seeing, you'll see some familiar lineups. So after the FIFAe World Cup qualification, offseason really starts to hit. Teams start switching it up a little bit more. Ahead of the Login Championship, we had an online qualifier. 6 teams made it. This is how we got to those 6 teams. Team Secret did make a change. That's the first thing to know. So Team Secret ended up removing Brad. I don't know if this was Brad leaving or them removing Brad, because all I have to go off of is Liquipedia and what the teams ended up being. They ended up picking up Sad from Loud. So I mentioned in the weekly video how all of Loud is on different teams now. This is how we got there. So Team Secret, Sad's going back, at least as of now. So Sad used to be on Team Secret. They were on the... He represented them on the international stage a couple times. So a bit of a reunion with KV1, which is kind of cool to see. For Ninja Pajamas, they actually made a change again. Wisty stays, but they still have a 2/3. So it ends up being that Swift leaves or gets kicked, I'm not sure, and Astramic comes in. So this was your formerly Ninjas and Pajamas roster. Now it's Astro and Knight sticking together with Wisty coming in. So I'm a little bit confused by this move, personally. I like Swift a lot. I thought he was a good combo with Knight. I thought Astramic was going to get the boot like we saw in FIFAe, but it also wouldn't surprise me if this is just what the team has decided to do. Or not necessarily what the team has decided to do, but what Swift has decided to do. So in terms of where Swift is going, he is teamed up with Drops. I'm going to go ahead and move him there. So he's teaming up with Drops, not Klaus. Klaus was not part of that squad. Other player on that squad, I have to look at my cheat sheet, is the old Team Secret player, Brad. So in the online qualifier process, there were 4 groups of 4. If you won the group, you faced another team that won the group, and both those teams still qualified. And then there was like a lower bracket for teams that were 2nd and 3rd in their group. The teams that won their groups were Furia, Team Secret, this formerly Ninjas and Pajamas squad, and they're not under Loud. They're under they're not coached by Grovel either. But the squad, I think they're called Lil Bros or something. So Lil Bros ended up playing this Team Secret squad. They went to Game 7. These guys played Furia. It did not go to Game 7. It was a sweep. So those were your teams that won their groups. You'll be seeing them at LAN. And then we have 2 other spots for LAN. And this is where things get fun. None of these guys are making it to this LAN. So Card I have under here because he was under contract with Crew last season. So, but he's out. AJG, I think this guy's in Europe. I'm going to be honest with you. I think he is moving to Europe. He was rumored to be teaming with Dorito and Dying. Dying is retired, so I don't think he's going to be teaming with those 2 specifically, but I feel like he's still going to end up being in Europe. So, going to throw him down there. Sorry, dude. But have fun in Europe. Move Bems out of the picture. I'm not really sure where Bems is in all of this, to be honest. Paquitas moved down. Tander wouldn't surprise me to see him get a good coaching jig. He's a pretty well-known figure in the scene. Kaio and Royalis. So these guys aren't underneath these 2 orgs per se. Actually, again, no one's under the orgs. But in terms of what we see for the LAN, we had not the Argentinian national team because AJG isn't on it, but they do have another Argentinian in RMN, like I mentioned, coming into the fold. So this is a team that ended up qualifying. They swept Moonrise 3-0. Moonrise, I'll get into them in a second. And your other team that ended up qualifying is the reason I still have Ray's Bull on this board, despite the fact he'll be playing in North America this season, is the Chilean national team. Decided to make a run at it, and they ended up qualifying. So props to them. I'm going to move some of these players around just a bit. So because of the way the bracket works, there were 2 teams that just missed out. One of them lost in 5. One of them lost in a sweep. The Chilean national team ended up sweeping Moonrise, I believe. Moonrise, I think, was KNS, Card, and Suko. So this was one of the teams that just barely missed. The other team that just barely missed, or no, not Suko. Yandy. My apologies. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read. The other team, they barely missed. Put them underneath for easy making sense. This is where you have Suko, Kaio, and Klaus from Loud. So there you go. That's kind of how the LAN breaks down, how we ended up getting there roster change wise. These guys, Argentinian, I'm kind of surprised to see them in a top 6 for South America. That's definitely swinging up a little bit from where they were last season. So props to them. I think these guys were pretty consistently qualifying for the Swiss, but not making it out of it. Chilean national team is definitely in a more difficult spot because they know RLEsports not going to be a part of the team for the next season. So if Pan and Davitrok stick together, they'll have to find a new third. But this LAN's can be good practice for them. I'm excited to see what this roster could bring. A lot of people online were pretty harsh on Brad when it came to his performance at Worlds, but I feel like it's either hit or miss with Brad. You either think he's the best player on Team Secret or the worst. Drops, it's been a while since we've seen him on any kind of big stage. He's on Loud or Hero Base last year, but he was on Crew for a while, ended up qualifying for some LANs. Swift, we need to see this guy in international competition. He is essentially the prodigy that came before Diaz. Obviously, Diaz is getting a lot more notoriety now. We need to see both of them at LAN. But personally, I think Swift will make it there first because I think that team could really challenge this Team Secret squad. We didn't end up seeing them. But if we're doing predictions for this LAN, Furia is going to win it. I think that's pretty straightforward. I'd love to see this team in the finals. I think they'll make it. I think they'll have a close series against this Team Secret squad. So, yeah, that's really how we've broken down in terms of what we'll see for the offseason and the rest of the changes that'll be made. It won't surprise me if none of these teams still stay this way. So, but in terms of main players to keep an eye on, looks like Wisty is really coming into the fold at the top level. He was on Crew at the end of last season, but they didn't have the best results. Looks like he's starting to get some looks from teams that were only one spot away from making LANs. Keep an eye on Swift because he's probably one of the best, if not the best player on this board. And Team Secret, will they be able to... What change will they make? Because they're still the favorites to make LAN as the second seed. So, hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully that made sense. If it doesn't, it's South America. This isn't over yet. So, I'll catch you guys next time.